everybody who was at the event saying, this is what we sent in, just so you know, this is what sort of came out of the event, and here's how it's striking home.
I don't know if we've mentioned yet, but you were the MP for Weston-super-Mare for eight
I had that
years,
honor,
was
yes,
that correct?
for nearly 2 decades, yeah.
And you were also the government czar for anti-corruption.
Yes.
What was your role, like sort of day to day?
So as the anti-corruption czar rather
Mm.
than as yeah. So the anti-corruption czar is a slightly, well, it's a very interesting and I think important role, but it's kind of an odd thing. It was actually created originally by Tony Blair, would you believe? But successive prime ministers have found it useful, and you're kind of the government's conscience or the party leader's conscience, if I can put it that way. So um, it's one of the things which everybody finds when they're in government or when you're in opposition is that you get lobbyists coming and tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "Can I have a word with you about X or Y or Z?" Um, and those lobbyists may be paid lobbyists representing commercial interests, or they may be religious lobbyists, or they may be charities lobbying for a particular point of view. Um, all of them deserve to be heard in a democracy. You need to make sure that that your that your representatives are not sort of cut off in some Westminster bubble. But you also need to understand what the axe that they're grinding is as well. And you may decide that it's actually something which is really worthwhile and a very important cause, or you may say, actually, hang on a sec, there's a bit of self-interest in what they're saying as well. So you need to understand all of that, and also there's always the risk of of dirty money creeping into politics as well. So those sorts of things, the anti-corruption czar is supposed to act as the conscience and to say, I think we may have a problem here. Um, just take care, or you need to launch an investigation. The thing which the czar can't do is they can't run investigations themselves. And the reason for that is really it's actually been that way ever since Tony Blair set the thing up. But the reason why that's important is you don't want to have the equivalent of a sort of political commissar running show trials. That would make us into sort of Soviet Russia. That would be a terrible idea. So rightly, no anti-corruption czar, whether they're a Labour anti-corruption czar or a Conservative one, they've never had squads of police and investigators working for them. Their job is much more to act as the conscience and to say, we need to be careful about this, or I'm worried about that, or have we thought about how this might lead us in the wrong direction, and try and make sure that you spot problems before they turn up, or that we react properly when, not if, there's a problem. Because any organisation that is run by human beings will occasionally have ethical problems, right? It doesn't matter if you're, and that's everybody from the Catholic Church through to the Conservative Party and everything in between. And goodness knows the Labour government recently has had awful examples of ethical compromises that it's
Do you think
that it's
they've
found itself.
do
Sorry?
you think they've taken sufficient action against
No,
their
no, I'm afraid I
challenges?
don't. I mean, and look, it it's always easy to criticise the government of the day if you're in opposition, and it's and I would be the first person to say that the Conservative Party wasn't perfect when we were in government. In the end, I resigned over something which I thought we weren't dealing with properly. Um, but I'm afraid that the Labour government has not been great at this so far. They've had problem after problem, and the current difficulty with Peter Mandelson's appointment as the ambassador to the USA, and who knew what when, and what they knew about his relationships with convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein is just, I'm afraid, the latest example. But there have been lots of others with cash for all sorts of bits and pieces flying around. So no one is perfect, and every government needs to start with a heavy dose of humility. Because when, not if, you find problems, because everybody will find problems no matter what, it isn't a question of will there be problems. The question is, how do you react when you find them? Do you react in an ethical way? And that's always difficult because no one likes to believe that their colleagues may be at fault or anything like it. Um, but that's what the role is supposed to involve.
I mean, you mentioned your resignation.
Mm.